In her questions to panelists, Professor Carletti asked how to stimulate employment and growth. Should the ECB pursue policies to lower the exchange rate? And what can companies and households do to overcome the crisis? These are certainly topical questions, since in the aftermath of the French and the Greek elections, return to growth has come to the forefront of the political European agenda. So let me give you my own opinion on this issue, which is crucial if we want to get out of the present vicious circle, so harmful socially and dangerous politically. As I understand, the political debate will focus on supply-side measures, but will they work if we simultaneously squeeze demand? Within the few minutes that have been granted to me, let me outline from an economist's point of view the underlying conditions for return for growth in the euro area. And I will present my views through three short observations, rather provocative, which will help fuel the debate. First, I will strike my first comments on the fact that the Commissioner Olli Rehn already emphasized that the euro crisis is a balance of payment crisis inside the eurozone in the first place. As you see on the graph, Commissioner Olli already gave nearly the same graph in the first panel. You see that you have countries of the south, plus Ireland, posting deficits, and countries of the north, mainly Germany, posting surpluses. Normally, price level differentials should tend to assuage the competitive gap through the flow of money from deficit to surplus countries. But this mechanism of adjustment through what the economists call the real exchange rate doesn't work well, at least in the short run. Look at the inflation rate in Germany, which is only 1.8%. And it takes time. But it could be accelerated through changes in relative wages. There has already been a reversal in the trend at various speeds, we must admit, in southern countries. But if there were room, according to productivity in Germany, to meet at least part of the workers' demand for wage increases, these, which will more or less be helped by a very low rate of employment in this country, would greatly facilitate the current account adjustment process and help fuel return to growth in the euro area. This is my first comment. My second observation. Reducing wage disparity is not the only way to reduce pressure of current account imbalances inside the eurozone. First, if with a weaker euro, the eurozone were posting a current account surplus, then instead of the present zero-sum game, where in order for the deficit countries to go back to balance, we need a reduction of the same amount of the North, Germany mainly, it would be much easier to foster growth thanks to an increase in exports to the rest of the world. I will come back to this in my third observation on the value of the euro. In general, current account deficits are considered as a bad thing because it means that a country is living beyond its means, and therefore it increases its indebtedness to pay excess expenditures. And this leads countries to a situation which we suffer in many countries in Europe, Greece, Spain, and this country. But when current account deficit is not rooted in unproductive domestic demand, households consumption, public expenditures, or housing, but in productive investments from the firms, then you can expect more growth in the future and also more return, which will allow the country to redeem its increased debt. If a fiscal restraint is necessary in countries of the South to reduce non-productive demand, we must find ways to increase their productive investments. This is where supply-side economy, policy, and structural reforms to raise productivity finds its justification, as Commissioner Olli Rehn stressed earlier. But we also have to look at the policy mix. In the Eurozone, we presently have a strange policy mix for an area which is in a recession. We simultaneously have a restrictive fiscal policy in each and every country of the Eurozone, and these policies have been institutionalized with the fiscal compact, but we also have a restrictive monetary policy as well. One may argue that the lending rate of the ECB is at an historical low of 1%. But in a global world, where what counts is not the absolute but the relative level compared to the outside world. In this respect, as you see on the chart, the ECB has a more restrictive monetary policy than the US Fed, the Bank of England, and the Bank of Japan. I have to acknowledge that the ECB embarked recently to a huge quantitative easing operation, but by providing 1 trillion of 3-year liquidity to the banks, it diffused a major crisis which was looming in the banking sector. But quantitative easing of the same order of magnitude have been launched in the other countries. The truth is that pursuing a monetary policy which is less accommodative, the ECB contributes to a strengthening of the euro, which is detrimental to macroeconomic activity in the euro area. A weaker euro would boost export in Germany and help, therefore, the German locomotive to resume speed. It would also enhance competitiveness in countries of the South. Now I come to my third comment. And it has to do with the banking system. There is a clear link between the sovereign debt crisis and the financial sector through its exposure to debt holdings of the ailing countries. Interaction goes in both directions. A deepening debt crisis weakens the financial sector, but a weaker financial sector has a reduced capacity to grant loans, which has a negative impact on economic activity. Last summer, at a time where the euro crisis was entering one of its worst phases, there has been pressure on European banks to increase their capital and liquidity ratios, well in advance of the Basel III agenda. This insistence led many banks to reduce the amount of credit lent to the economy, contributing to the slowing down of the Eurozone economy. We have, therefore, as soon as possible, to adopt a more flexible agenda, not by alleviating the constraints imposed to the banks, which are indispensable to foster their resilience, but by giving them more time to abide by the new ratios. So you see that there is room for change, for return to economic growth. But we will have to open the realm of the political discussion, which will start in the coming days. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.